Hello, everybody, and welcome to Spark Reynolds podcast, Facebook Live, YouTube, you name it. We're on it.
Hey,
Um,
everybody.
it's good to see everyone. If you have any questions, comments, or you just want to let us know where you're tuning in from, throw them right in the chat. This is a very interactional show. We don't we're not about the whole talking at you kind of thing. Last week we did we talked about how boredom can kind of kill your financial goals and whatnot. This week we're switching it up a bit and we're going to talk about and it's a question we get a lot, can you 1031 exchange a property into investing in a real estate syndication? So with that being said, again, if you have any questions, pop them in. Brian, I'm going to start you. Can you 1031?
Yeah. So the answer is yes. Technically, you can do a 1031 exchange into a real estate syndication. And there are really two sub questions here. One is, can you 1031 exchange from a rental property that you own directly into, can you sell that rental property and then transfer the proceeds into a real estate syndication? That's one question. The other question is, can you 1031 exchange proceeds from one syndication into another syndication? So two different questions here. We'll answer both of them. And we're not going to get into the really deep weeds of how 1031 exchanges work. We've talked about these before, and
I'm going to put a link in
it's a little
that goes
ticky-tacky
over
quickly.
it as well.
Yeah. We'll put some links in the show notes here to some resources, such as exactly how 1031 exchanges work, and how they help you defer capital gains taxes. And I'll also throw a link in there to just some other ideas to defer or avoid capital gains taxes on real estate. But yeah, let's start by diving into that first question. Can you sell a rental property and 1031 exchange the proceeds from that into a real estate syndication? So the answer is yes, you can, with a huge but. You can only do it if the sponsor, the syndicator, agrees to set up your portion of the ownership, the legal ownership in the property, as tenants in common, rather than simply listing you as yet another limited partner alongside all the other limited partners, the other passive investors in that deal. So it's expensive, and it comes with some additional legal headaches for the sponsor to do this. So you have to negotiate with them to let you do that. And in practice, what that normally means is they'll say, all right, well, I'll do this. I'll jump through these extra hoops for you if you're willing to invest a minimum of $500,000 or $1 million or whatever it is. But a significant amount of money, regardless, like a hefty chunk of change here.
Now, some syndication partners will say no. They don't want to get involved.
But there's a price for everything, right? I mean, so, there is usually a price for the inconvenience that they will go through in order to do this for you. And that's normally if you're willing to invest a big amount of money. So for the average middle-class investor, it's not really practical, but it is possible. And the other question here is, can you 1031 exchange your proceeds from one real estate syndication into another syndication? And again, the answer is yes, with a huge qualifier on here. Usually this works if the original well, let me back up for 1 second. You can always do this like the answer before. You can always negotiate with the new syndicator to add you as tenants in common. But again, you have to invest $500,000, a lot of money. Now, if you wanted to invest a smaller amount of money and 1031 exchange into a syndication, you can do that if the old syndication, the property that you're selling, was originally designed to be 1031 exchanged from the very start. So sometimes sponsors will they'll propose a deal, they'll raise money for it, and they'll tell investors from the very beginning, we're planning on 1031 exchanging the proceeds when we sell this property. And only invest in this syndication if you are planning on leaving the money or leaving it in to be exchanged into a new property in 2, 3, 4 years, whatever, when we sell this current property and buy a new one.
Right.
So usually those deals are designed that way from the very beginning. So you invest in a syndication deal with the full knowledge that in a few years from now, when it sells, the money is going to be rolled over into a new property through a 1031 exchange. So this only really happens in the real world with 506C deals that are only available to accredited investors. It's theoretically possible that you could find one as a non-accredited investor. I've just never seen one. So again, you need to be a wealthy investor in practice to do this. But with the latter, if you're 1031 exchanging from one syndication to another, at least you can theoretically do that with a smaller amount of money, maybe $50,000 instead of $500,000 or $1 million. So yes, you can 1031 exchange into syndications, but in fact, it's really
yes, but
yeah, exactly. You have to be you have to be wealthy in for all practical purposes for this to work. So yeah, that's the high level answer to that question. And by the way, I saw a couple shout outs from Bilal Newman Sheikh. Great to see you too, Bilal, and Zach Green. Appreciate you hopping in there. Bilal used to work with us, and Zach is a good friend of mine from back in Baltimore.
Oh, wow.
Speaking of, I'm actually in the U.S. doing this broadcast for the first time in 8 months. So,
which is
glad to be
crazy.
in the homeland.
He's in the warm homeland.
We're down in Florida. We're visiting family here in Florida. So, Deni, is there anything else you want to cover around this topic of 1031 exchanges, and in particular 1031 exchanging proceeds into a real estate syndication?
I don't. I do think that they can get complicated, so it's important to talk to your financial consultant or tax advisor on the whole process. We do have a couple articles that we posted links to. One is what a 1031 exchange is. There are tax advantages to them, especially when you get closer to my age. But anyway, you can check all that out.
You delay paying capital gain taxes
right
on your proceeds from selling real estate. Which we probably should have summarized that in the beginning of the episode, but
well, that's about all I had, Brian.
Yeah, a little bit more of an advanced topic today, but we've heard a lot of people ask about this, and we wanted to just cover some of the practical implications of doing it. So, all right. On that note, we will catch you guys next week. Stay in touch.
We have a guest next week.
Yeah. Tell us what you want to hear more about.
Yes.
Support at sparkrental.com. Deni and I read all these, and we look forward to catching you guys on the flip side.
Absolutely. See you next Tuesday. Bye-bye.